Hello, everyone. Got my mic on. I'm gonna test it just to make sure. Gonna test it just to make sure. We are on the road to 50. I'm going live every night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Deborah J, and I am here to talk with y'all tonight. It didn't happen when I thought it would. It didn't happen when I thought it would. And this is part of my Becoming Her series. Becoming Her. Becoming her. Are you becoming her too? Becoming her. Are you becoming her too? I am becoming her. I am becoming her. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I know a lot of people are on tonight, but we are on tonight. All right, so we're going to get started. We're going to have us a good time. We're going to have us a good time. We're going to have us a good time, right? We're going to have us a good time. I just want to make sure everything. I see somebody watching. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing? I'm doing good. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me so you can hear me fine, right, Nicholas? Nicholas Journey, or I'm gonna call you Nicholas. All right, to make sure. I'm gonna turn this volume down. Just keep it up so I can see the comments, because you know how these screens be doing. So I hope you're doing all right, Nicholas. I am doing all right. This is part of my new series. I've been on this road to 50 for 50 days, and it'll be ending for my birthday. Let me fix this little piece of hair too, because I just hopped off. I just got done spending time with the family. My brother stopped by, so we were all sitting in my mom's room. So I said, all right, it's almost 9 o'clock. I said I was going on live. I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Nichols? How are you doing? Good. You can hear me. Great, great, great. I got on the other night. I don't know if you were on. I was on live for about 30, 40 minutes by myself until one of my good friends popped on, Stephanie from the WSFN channel. She popped on. She's like, I can't hear you. I was like, oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, I'm just talking about becoming her. Because I'll be 50, on May 2nd. Matter of fact, I will be 50 on May the 2nd. So it's not long. It is not long at all. Like today is the 26th. So literally Saturday, I will be 50 years old. Yep, the big 50, right? And a lot of people didn't make it to that. A lot of people didn't make it to 50. But I'm thankful that I did, though. I am. I'm thankful that I did make it to 50. And lately, I've been just going by starting off with some scriptures. So I'm going to start off tonight with Habakkuk 2 and 3. So let me just go to the amen. It is a blessing, exactly. And I don't take it lightly either, because some people didn't make it. Some people didn't make it to the day. Some people didn't make it to 50. I even lost some classmates, and yeah, so I'm like, amen, exactly. Exactly. I'm like, Lord, I love you, but, give me a little bit more time here with my family. I mean, I know, of course, he calls us when he calls us, it's in his timing, um, but yes, but we're gonna start the night off with yes, Habakkuk 2, 3. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat for me. Habakkuk 2 and 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and read that. Habakkuk 2, 3. It says, this vision is for a future time. It describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. Hey, Carmelita, thank you, girl, for coming on here. I didn't realize that was you that put the scripture in there. Thank you. But yes, Habakkuk 2 and 3. And the NIV says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come. And that says a lot, because like I said, I'm, approaching 50, and it's like, okay, setbacks in life come, and you're like, wait a minute, I take a couple steps forward, or take one step forward, and then, fall 2, 3 steps back. And it's like, okay, come on, Lord, but he says right here, The vision is for a future time. It describes the end and it will be fulfilled. And if it seems slow in coming, wait patiently. And that's a big thing. You got to learn to wait patiently. Because it's going to happen. It's surely going to take place, as it says in here. It will not be delayed. Like they say, delayed does not mean denied, right? You just got to be patient. You have to be patient. And I can say, just talking about my marriage, my previous marriage, I was married for over 23 years and it wasn't easy. I'm not saying it was all bad, but it wasn't easy. But I had to be patient. I was patient and I waited on the Lord and He delivered me from it. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that because there was no stability. There was no stability there. And yes, it takes two to tango. I get it, but there was no stability there. None whatsoever. It's like, right. We do have to be patient. Exactly, Nichols. We have to be patient. We have to be patient. The Lord tell us to wait on the Lord and be of good courage, right? We have to learn to wait. We have to learn to wait. Like I said, I was patient, waited on the Lord. But when you've been married over 20 years and that's when you're delivered, that's a lot. You're starting over completely. You've been in the same relationship, same, married, same person, living a life together for over 2 decades. That's a lot. a lot, right? That is a lot. But you got to be patient and, you got to, when it's time for you to start over, when it comes to an end and you have to start over, you got to be patient with yourself. You got to give yourself some grace. You got to give yourself some grace, and you can't rush the process. You cannot rush the process. I have definitely learned that lesson. You cannot rush the process of healing after divorce. Starting over is not easy. Whether you have young children, adult children, my youngest was in middle school, and my girls one was in college. The other, she had graduated already as well. Starting over, even though they were older, it still was a change. It was a transition. I mean, of course, they lived in the same household, so they knew things, but it was still starting over, and starting over is not always easy. Whether it's the right thing or wrong thing, it's not always easy. So I had to go through that and just take some time for myself, learn myself, still learning myself, and just continue to keep growing. I had to continue growing. And that's why leading up to this 50th birthday, getting ready to celebrate my 50th birthday, that's just another reason why it's so important to me, so precious to me to start celebrating myself, because I'm still starting over in a sense. It's been, my grandson is 7. I was marked by, his birthday, or his year rather, because that's when it happened. But, I started over. I started over. And sometimes you start over 2-3 times, right? Let me know in the comments. Y'all done started over a few times. Sometimes it be like that. You start over 2 or 3 times. But you have to be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Pray about it. And just be patient. Sometimes things can happen in life and it feels like you're just delayed. Like you're not getting ahead. You're not going anywhere. Life is not going how you want it to go. Excuse me. You feel like, okay, when is my time going to come? When is it going to be my day, But that's not how God works. That's not how He works. That's not how life works. You have to be patient and wait on His timing. They say His timing versus our timing. Right, we have to be patient. He said, like, His timing versus our timing, they're not the same. They are not the same. We can say, oh, I want it this way. This is how it's going to be. This is when it's going to happen. I'm going to go back to school, or I'm going to get this degree, or I'm going to get this new job. I'm going to, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Not saying that it can't happen, but sometimes it's not always in your timing. It's in God's timing. And His timing is far beyond our imagination, our understanding, or anything. he could, because he created us, right? He created us. He's the creator of the earth. Thank you so much, Nichols. The Nichols 13. Thank you so much. Hello, how are you doing? And yeah, our timing is not his timing. Our timing is not his timing. So when you don't allow yourself to get discouraged, don't allow yourself to get discouraged. And just remember that delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. It's development. It's development. D&D. Development. Just remember that it is development. Like, I literally had to tell myself, many times that God didn't forget about me. He didn't forget about me. He was just preparing me for what's to come. I'm sure some of you probably felt that way, or sometimes feel like, okay, God ain't worried about me, and he done forgot all about me. He ain't listening to me. He ain't hear my prayers. It's just not the right time. Because God, remember, he can see exactly. He can see what we can't see, right? He can see what we can't see. So you just don't be discouraged. Right? We need to wait on the Lord. Exactly. Just wait on him, Nichols. Exactly. Just wait on him and be patient. We have to just really just wait on him, because he knows best. He knows best. He knows best. So just don't get discouraged. Just try to stay encouraged. Remember that God has a plan for you. Like they say, write the vision, make it plain. He already wrote the vision and made it plain. So you gotta just be patient. You just gotta be patient. Exactly. You gotta be patient. Somebody getting a notification, but you have got to be patient. Gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. So I hope y'all are doing all right tonight. I'm doing my series that I'm starting on of Becoming Her. It's tonight it didn't happen when I thought it would, and we're talking about timing, because things didn't go the way I planned. In my mind, once the divorce, okay, now I can live my life. I can find my person. I can do this. I can do that. Yeah, it's not always in your timing. Or even when I moved back home here, after the divorce, and then I got into a toxic relationship after the divorce, and I moved back. I didn't plan on moving back home, and then when I moved back home, things still, they didn't go the way I planned. I brought my job with me because I was working from home. Good job, selling insurance. Financially, things were great, right? But everything else, it didn't align right. It did not align right with God's timing. In my timing, I might would have said, okay, yeah, I got this. Hey, Marina, how you doing, sis? I told you I was coming on. I was a few minutes late, but I came here. But God's timing is not always our timing, or our time is not always in line with God's timing, put it that way, because we can be so impatient. We can be so impatient, but we gotta remember that, like I said, Habakkuk 2:3, for the vision is for an appointed time, though it linger, we gotta wait for it. So this scripture kind of hits different when you've lived through delay. When you waited and waited, okay, well, when's my time gonna come? When is this gonna happen? When is that? Everybody else doing this and that and the other. I'm doing good, Marina. I'm doing good. I'm home now, so I don't gotta get no worry about no phone calls. Told mom I was getting ready to come get on live. Yes, but yeah, I'm doing good. Just like I said, on this road to 50, I started it, like I said, 40 plus days ago, on this road to 50. And I think it's March 14th, I believe. And I just been reflecting, like even like going back and sharing like old photos and things like that on a lot of them, like Facebook and stuff like that. But it just made me think about all the things that I've gone through in my lifetime. That's 5 decades I'm about to be finished with, right? 5 decades, and I'm like, okay, Lord, like what's next? What you got for me? I always just tell my mom, don't say what's next, because when she say what's next, it's like something bad gonna happen. Like we're not gonna say what's next, but I am ready for what God has in store for me next. I'm ready for my next. That's probably what I should have titled this series. I'm ready for my next. I'm ready for my next. I am ready for my next. Are y'all ready for y'all next? No matter what age you are, just are you ready for your next? Because your next can be tomorrow. It don't have to be a particular milestone. Your next can be tomorrow. But I'm ready for my next. I really am ready for my next. But like I said, this is just day one of my Becoming Her series, where leading up to my 50th birthday. So tonight is the first night. I said I'm going to be dedicated. I'm going to show for me as well as for y'all. But I'm going to do this every night at 9 o'clock p.m. That's a good time frame for me, where I'm not quite too sleepy. Okay, that's right. You got to stay ready, right? You got to stay ready for your next, because you don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming at you. You don't know what's coming for you. You don't know what's coming against you or for you. I'd rather that for you, but you got to stay ready. Like Marina said, you got to stay ready. Exactly. You got to stay ready. They say stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I didn't come up with the phrase, but I've heard it. You got to stay ready, right? You got to stay ready. And that's the point I'm at. Like, I'm just, like I said, just looking over my life and thinking about all the things that I've gone through. I raised 3 children, married for over 23 years. Even though I divorced, I still, I've been to college. I've done all the things. I was a hairdresser. I had my cosmetology license for many years in multiple states. Like, I've done a lot of things. I've lived a lot of places. God afforded us to move to a lot of different states. And a lot of people say, well, were you in the military? And I'm like, no. And we just moved around a lot. Me and my ex-husband, we just moved around a lot, and trying new places, trying to get a fresh start, I look back over it now, it might not have been the best thing for us to do. But at the time, we both felt most of the time, we both felt like it was the right thing to do. So, we would move kids to this state, that state, or whatever, trying to get a fresh start. But now when I look back over, why they say hindsight is 20/20. When I look back over it, I'm like, we should have just been patient, stayed where we were, and waited on God. But neither one of us did. Neither one of us did. Neither one of us waited. Amen. Amen, Marina. Neither one of us waited. And when you're not patient and you don't wait on God, you can cause your own problems. You can cause your own problems. You can cause your own problems. And even though, I did love my ex-husband, but when we got married, we weren't supposed to get married right then, especially not right then. I won't say we weren't ever supposed to get married. I do feel that way a lot of times, that, we weren't supposed to get married. I'm just going to call it what it is. I love my children, grandchildren, but we weren't supposed to get married. We weren't living right, for one. Young, at some point you're shacking up, and other times you're not. But we weren't living right. And then, at that final, before we got married, we moved back up here, and my dad, he moved back in here with us, with me and my family. And after a while, my dad was like, okay, y'all can't keep living in here, and you're not married, in the same room, keep it real. And so we was like, okay, we'll get married. But if I'll be honest, if my dad hadn't done that, I ain't gonna say 100%, because I did love him, but we probably wouldn't have got married. I probably wouldn't have got married as soon. I don't know, but you don't know. Once something is done, it's done. But it's like we got married, and then we got pregnant. I was like, Lord, already? I think it was on the honeymoon. I was like, already, Lord. But you don't never know when the Lord gonna bless you with a baby. But I'm thankful for all 3 of my babies. They're right. Things happen in our lives for a reason, right? Only He knows why. Yeah, that's right, Nichols. Like, He could have been protecting me from something else. You never know, really. And that's why I say I thank Him for it. I don't try to understand, because that was for as far as my life at that time. That maybe that's what the Lord saw fit to happen. And it happened, and we stayed married, like I said, for over 2 decades. And but we made it through. I made it through. And I'm still here, to live to tell the story or whatever, but yeah, it was more emotional and financial issues than anything. There was no physical altercations or anything like that in that relationship. But we made it through. We made it through. And like I said, I'm just talking about, because of my journey through my 50 years, my journey through my 50 years. And he was a part of a big hunk of my life, basically from the mid-teens to my 40s. And I'm just about to leave my 40s now. So that was a big hunk of my life, right? That was a big hunk of my life. But so now the reality is now, divorce, emotional rebuilding, I'm rebuilding myself, and you can rebuild don't let anybody tell you can never rebuild your life. You can rebuild your life over and over if you need. If that's what it takes, if that's what you need, you can keep rebuilding your life. God will help you put yourself back together. All you gotta do is just go to him and just ask him. He will help you put yourself back together. Was that Donnie McClurkin song, get back up again? No matter how many times you fall, the righteous man falls 7 times. No matter how many times you fall, get back up again. God is right there waiting with a helping hand, reaching for you, here, come. He's got you. He can lift you back up. He will lift you back up. Exactly. I'm glad y'all are me speaking in the chat. That's wonderful. And God will lift you back up. He will lift you back up. All you gotta do is go to him. And so, like I said, I talked about this disappointment, things. Like I said, there was a lot of disappointment there. There was some happiness over the years, and there was some disappointment over the years. Just confusion. But life is a journey, right? Life is a journey. We're growing and we're learning every day, every week, every year, every month, every year. We're growing. We're constantly learning and growing. Because if you're not learning and growing, then what are you doing? What are you doing if you're not learning and growing? You got to be doing something. I'd rather be learning and growing. I would rather be learning and growing than to just sitting there not doing nothing and watching other people move ahead. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to, I'm not doing nothing in life, or I'm not doing this. I'm just sitting here, just existing, just sitting here existing. That's not living. That's not a life. That's not a life. That is not a life. So, like I said, but with bringing everything back to perspective, with all of it, that's where my faith came to play. I had to keep a strong faith. I had to keep a strong faith in my life. So I just had to remember that, God's timing, my timing, his timing trumps it all, right? God's timing trumps it all. His timing trumps it all. And just remember that your delay is preparation. Your delay is preparation. It's not denial. He's just getting you prepared for something because he already sees the road ahead, We can't see it, but he sees the road ahead. And so you just have to, trust him and be patient and wait on him. And just remember that you were becoming even when you didn't see it. Even when you didn't see the changes that were going on, you were becoming. You were becoming. You were becoming. I was becoming. I was becoming. So I had to realize that I wasn't late. I wasn't late at all. I was becoming. Because we're not all we're not all running the same race, going at the same pace. We're all on this journey, but each person's path is different. Each person's path, yes, we might have the same outcome or the same goal, but everyone's path is different. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. But I will say that everything that I went through over these 49 years, everything that I've gone through has, shaped me in ways that I could have never imagined. I'm more aware now. of things and people and places and things. I'm more wiser and stronger now. Because there was a time I would never be up here on anybody's camera talking to anybody, not showing my face or not. I was not doing it. You was not catching Deborah up. If I did take a picture, I was so nervous and worried about how I looked that I didn't even smile right or look right on the photo half the time. And they like, what in the world was I thinking about on that picture? I was not putting me up on no camera at all. But I just was not. But yeah, I wasn't at all. For anyone new that comes in here and catches the replay, if you're watching this and you feel like your life didn't turn out the way you planned, just remember that you are not behind. You're not behind. You are not behind at all. You're in a process. You are in a process, and it's still working. You are in a process, and it's still working. The process is still working for you. So don't think that you're behind. Do not think that you're behind. So be honest. For those of you who have gone through some decades in life, what did you think that your life would look like by now? I would love to know in the comments. What did you all think that your life would look like by now? Did you think you would be a millionaire, or married with kids, or on top of in top of your game in your career? How did you think? I would love to know, how did you all think that your life would be by this time in your life, whatever age group you're in? How did you think that your life would be right now? And if you all catch this in the replay, feel free to put your answers there as well. I would love to know, where did you see, or how did you think that your life would be right now? I would love to know that. Marina, how did you think your life would be right now? What did you think that your life would look like by now? When you were younger, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? And before I close, I'm going to read some of my poetry as well. So we're going to just sit tight for a little bit. Sit tight. I'm not going to close us out just yet. I'm not going to close us out just yet. But I am going to share a little poetry with you guys tonight, since we're still in National Poetry Month. Right, we are still in National Poetry Month. This is my newest collection, Still I Bloom. But actually, you know what? I'm going to read a little bit from the first two poetry books too as well, because like I said, they're not representative of the full, like I said, 49 years or 4 decades, but they are from like 2019 is when I published this first one. This was in 2019, Whirlwind Full of Emotions, and hence the name, this was my married name. And this book, this one I wrote this one, these poems, when our marriage was coming to an end. All the emotions that I was feeling, I wrote it out in poetry form. That's the way that I heal. I have and my poems aren't really long, but I have 24 poems in this book. 24 poems in this little book. Oh, right, 24 poems in here. So I'll just read something from this one. I'll read something from each one. This is everything that I was feeling, like I said, towards the end of my marriage. Let's see what that would be. Okay, the meaning. This is actually the first one in the book. And back then, I didn't know nothing about, now you can, when you really become, a writer, a publisher, author, you think about, you might have written your poems in a chronological order, but you can go, you think about, what order to put them in the actual book. But when I wrote this one, each time I wrote a poem, saved it, and I added it to, and I just put them all together in that order. But this first one is called The Meaning. I was there for you when you were going through your worst, and now I'm going through mine. You're the first to be self-absorbed, forgetting about our vows, in sickness and in health. Oh, wow. I am so hurt beyond measure. but all you can think about is pleasure. Oh, wait, it's love. But what is love? Do you even know the meaning of? And I just felt like, you know, that's what I was feeling at the time. Like I'm going through, these health issues, and that's all you thinking about. Keep it real. You're thinking about pleasure. I'm your wife. I'm going through some things. My health is not well, and that's all you thinking about. No. And this is another one called Too Late. You say you love me, but you can't deal with what I'm going through. You say you love me, but I need to fix myself so I can be there for you. You say you love me, but you gotta go away. You say you love me, but now you're gonna stay. You say you love me, and I'm supposed to say okay. You say you love me. Well, I'm saying it's too late. And I can still remember when I wrote this poem because 1 minute, oh, you're gonna stay, we're gonna work this out. I'm gonna help you get better and this and that and the other. And then next thing I know, oh, I put in my 2-week notice. I'm leaving. Like, what? What? That's what I was feeling. So I was like, now you and then now you wanna, well no, yeah. After that, it's like, oh well, I'm gonna stay. You said you was leaving, leave, no. But that's where that poem and that came from. It's too late. But then that brings me to my second collection. Hence the name, Deborah Jefferson. This was after the divorce. By the time I published this, as a matter of fact, I took like a few years to write this one because I was like in my mind, okay, I wanted to write a collection, so I wanted to have more poems. Started off going to school. Okay, let me see your answers. I started off going to school to be a doctor, something I always said I would be since I was in junior high school. However, things didn't go as planned. That's how you saw it. Right, I get it, Marina. You plan for things and then, it doesn't always work out according to your plan, but God already knows the plans he has for us, plans to prosper us and, plans to give us hope in the future. So you might not have, been, went on to be, to medical school to become a doctor, but God had other plans, so, I'm sure, just seeing your life a little bit on here, and I know things aren't always what they seem, but it seems that, things are going well for you. But yeah, but I can imagine you had your plan. I wanted to be a seamstress, and then I wanted to be in high school. I took 2 years of cosmetology, so I did want to be a hairdresser, and I was one for many years off and on. But we moved around so much, so it was kind of hard to really build a strong clientele. But that was my dream, and I did even get a salon at one point, get my own salon. And, I was renting a building. I took over a salon where I went to work at. And so that dream came true for a little while, but because of the way do I sell? Hey, what you said, Carmelita? Do you sell? Tell me what you're talking about, Carmelita. Do you see? Oh, see? Do you see? Do you see what, Carmelita? Not understanding. Tell me what you mean. Live your best life. Tell me what you mean. Do you see? But I got confused a little bit, I guess. How do you see your life? Do you see yourself for how you thought your life would be right now, Carmelita? Live your best life? Let me know in the comments. See. Do you see? How do you see your life? Is that what you mean? Girl, you got me confused. But do you see? It keeps changing the word. Oh, you can text me the word if you want to, because I'm like, it keeps. So, do I still sew? Okay, I was like, what is she saying? I was like, I haven't sewn in a while now. Okay, when I was a kid, let me see, what was I? Yeah, because my grandmother passed when I was 16, my mother's mother. So I want to say when I was probably about, I'm going to say probably 12 or 13, probably middle school. I never thought I would be doing media. Right, exactly. I'm just knowing you for a few years, and I know at one point you didn't even want to be up on the camera. But yeah, as far as sewing though, yeah, I used to I remember me and my grandmother made this little yellow skirt set outfit together. It was a stripe. I still remember it was a striped yellow, the stripes coming down, yellow and white. And we made a little skirt set together. Cause she had one, those old Singer sewing machines. She had one of those sewing machines in the house for years. So she really taught me how to sew. And I took home ec a little bit, but I was not like fashion design. They draw and they come up with the images and stuff in their head. That part I didn't really take on. I did at one point wanted to go to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. But as time went on, I changed into doing hair, which is still an art form. It's still an art form. And I ended up going to cosmetology. I took it 2 years in high school. Because back then, at least in Georgia, back then, you couldn't get your license from high school. You still had to go to beauty school out of high school. So I took it for 2 years in high school. And then when I graduated high school, I did take a year at a tech school down in Macon. But you had to take math or English or something with it. So you didn't get your hours as quick as you would if you went to just a cosmetology school. So but I did take a year's worth there and got some hours. And then that's when I moved back up here after I was like 19. Like I married at 20, so I moved back up here around about 19. And I didn't get back in beauty school again until my girls were little. So I was married. Well, I got in there a few times. I went to beauty school, a few different beauty schools before I got my license. But I finally got my license in, was it 2000? Yes, my youngest was born in 99. So yeah, I think it was like 2002 when I actually finally, finished all my 1,500 hours and got my license, right? Yeah. So you say you learned how to sew in school, even taught your aunt how to sew. Okay, well, but now you don't even remember, right? Last time I actually sewed, because I used to have a sewing machine um up until, let me see, because I had bought me a sewing machine. So I had a sewing machine, I want to say in the mid 2000s. I had a sewing machine. Yeah, and honestly, about probably after 2010, I had a sewing machine for a while, and then I ended up getting rid of it. I ended up getting, because I used to do sewing. I used to do. You can read a pattern, or do you? Are you asking me how to read? Okay, you said I learned how to sew in school. Okay, Marina, so she learned how to sew in high school. Okay, you taught your aunt how to sew. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I did start reading patterns a little bit because I started buying a little kits from like Walmart and what was it, Joann's store. I used to buy the little stuff. Hello, you laughing, Nichols. But yeah, I used to buy little sewing kits from there and the fabric and stuff and try to make little stuff, but yeah, I had my little sewing machine for a little while, but I always said I was gonna turn it into everything I do. I always said I want to turn it into a business. But I would do one thing, then I change, and I had my little arts and crafts. I was made jewelry, I used to make little earrings and stuff like that, and like then of course ex-husband, you got too much stuff in here. You need to get rid of all this stuff. So at one point I went ahead and just literally I sold my sewing machine. I could back then, even still now, but the Facebook Marketplace, I think I put them on there. I sold my little sewing machine and just got rid of it. But yeah, Walmart, I don't know if they still have the patterns or not. I haven't, like I said, I got rid of my sewing machine and stopped sewing because I was like, I guess I just really, you got to have time. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for coming in. Yes, I got sound. I got sound. Yeah, the other night I didn't have no sound for like 30, 45 minutes. Stephanie popped on. She was like, I can't hear you. I was like, oh, Lord. I don't know what happened, but the night I made sure I checked my mic. I'm going to show you my phone. I made sure my phone and everything. I'm like, look, I'm not doing that again. Me too, Marina. I might start it back one day. I don't know. It's just like I'm so focused on my writing now. So that's kind of like I evolved. But I made candles at one point. This is all the stuff that I've done through the years. I used to make, matter of fact, on my Facebook page, like way down in there, there's pictures where I would make the gel candles and I would buy the little jars and decorate them with all little different colors and stuff. and on the outside, and I had candles. I probably sold a few. Sometimes I would like go to little events and stuff every now and then, or just trying to sell them on Facebook and stuff like that. But it was fun. That was my fun stuff, But sometimes you gotta let the fun stuff go sometimes. But I ain't gonna say necessarily let it go, but sometimes you let it go. I don't say you have to let it go, but sometimes you let the stuff go and you just move on to other things. But yeah, that was fun times though. That was fun times though. I used to make my little gel candles, and one time I made hair products. I did. I used to make, because like I said, I was a hairdresser. So at one point I started trying to make my own hair oils and things like that. I even had labels, because when I went and got my, and I'm not jumping around, but I'm just thinking about through the years. Like I said, we're approaching this 50, but when I got my business license for Hairbed Thoughts LLC, I had to go down to the city office or whatever. And when you give them your name and your social, all that stuff, and they pull it up, they was like calling out my old business. I was like, oh my God, I hadn't heard those names and I don't know how long, because I had but I was making the hair products. I called it Triple M Creations, and I went and got me, back then they called it, I think, a peddler's license if you like sold products. Because you know how people sell the gift baskets on the side of the road and stuff like that. I was doing that with my products. I would go and I would it was a certain neighborhoods here where you could go and park in the county, and go and park. But yeah, and they had my old business. I was like, oh my God, I hadn't heard those names in years. And it was Triple M Creations. And Triple M Creations came from my children. Their names all starts with M. So I called it Triple M Creations. But yeah, I mean that really took me back. I was like, yes, that's me. But I don't have those businesses anymore. This is different. I was like, no. So yeah, if you ever register anything, it's still gonna be there. It's still gonna be there. If you register with your city, state, county government or whatever, it's gonna still be there. So mm-mm. It is surely gonna be there. But yeah, but it's good to just sit back and reflect, over your life. And that's what I'm doing, it's right. It's not, I know it's not too late to pick it back up. And sometimes I think about it, every now and then, hey, maybe I should do my candles. I remember at one point when my son, matter of fact, he was a baby, and I kept all the multiple streams of income. I know I had all like the baby food jars, and I made candles out of those at one point too. Now, Marina, you know how this night body is. Don't let it put you in timeout. But yeah, and I would like make the little gel candles. I would go to Hobby Lobby. That's why I say Hobby Lobby used to be one of my favorite stores. I would go there and buy the little wicks, the candle wicks that you put down in the jar, and get the gel and everything like that. But it was fun. It was my fun stuff. But life happens. Yeah, multiple streams of income. I know. Don't worry about that keyboard, Carmelita. Don't worry about that keyboard. I know what you're saying now. But yeah, multiple streams of income is good, which is why this is one of them multiple streams of income I'm trying to get going to here. That's why I was like, I'm determined to get my watch hours up. I know I got a long way to go. I'm closer to my subscribers level than I am to my watch hours, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep pushing it. That's why this week I'm going to go live every night at 9:00. I started the night. I said every night at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to go live for at least an hour. And we making it, y'all. We doing it. We've been on here 43 minutes. Yes. So make sure y'all share it out with y'all community. But yeah, this has been fun. Like, I'm just gonna be just talking about, like I said, my journey, and this 4 decades, coming up on 5 decades that I've been on this earth. I don't take that lightly at all. I don't take it lightly at all. Like, God has brought me a mighty long way, as the old folks say. He done brought me a mighty long way, and I'm thankful for it. I am thankful for it. I'm grateful that, he brought me this far, because he didn't have to bring me this far. He really didn't. He didn't have to bring me this far. He could have let me fall, and let me stay down, but he didn't. He loved me enough to pick me back up. He did. He loved me enough to pick me back up. And yeah, I'm thankful for that. But before we do close out, I'll go ahead and read a little bit from these other two. This one was my second one since it's National Poetry Month. Burst of Emotions, like I said, hence the name. When I went back to my maiden name. And this one, like I said in the beginning, I took a few years to write these poems. I was learning about life, myself, dating. I didn't know nothing about men too much. I got married at 20 years old. And, I met him at 14, I might have dated a little bit here in high school or whatever, but I didn't do no bunch of dating. I didn't know nothing about guys. I didn't do all the parties and all that stuff in high school. That was not me. I was not that girl. I was not that girl. So I'm going to read one. Let's say, or one or two, but this is, let's see, navigating through this, trying to figure out my way, sis. Sometimes I get so pissed at the hit or miss. Tell me what it is to minimize the ish. Let's get to the business. Check off the to-do list. I'm so tired of life. Why is everything a fight? Can it be just right for just one night? Can I get one day where I can play or just lay and relax all day? Because it's just like I was just literally trying to just figure out my new life. And just like everything was happening, all kind of things were going on. I'm like, Lord, can I just relax a little bit? My daughter went through my oldest went through some things. Of course, she had a new baby. It just, life was lifing. Life was lifing. And I'm like, yeah, she was an adult, but still, still my daughter. So, like, And I remember this one. I wrote this one. I used to love to drive, and Carmelita, she was a drive for a living too. And sometimes I would just get, this was before I actually became a Lyft driver, but I would just sometimes just get in my car and just get on the road and just drive. And I live about like an hour from I would drive like an hour from home and just drive on this back road, just drive on that road, just listen to the radio, listen to God, just think, pray, cry, all of it, But this poem is titled The Open Road. Being alone is harder than I thought. At least that is how it seems. But I do enjoy when I drive off. The open road is all that I see. Driving along the country roads, barely having time to stop and think. All my troubles just seem to unload every single time I blink. Taking this time to reflect on life. So much has happened. There has been so much strife and so much sadness. Sometimes I see the great divide when I think of my family. But when I take that long drive, the open road is all that I see. And that literally was like my healing place at the time. I just get in the car and just ride. Sometimes I miss it sometimes now, but yeah, I'm driving, but I'm driving here and there, right here around town, we're going to the store and stuff. That's not the same, but just getting out on that road and just driving, that's just so peaceful, especially on them country roads. That is just so peaceful to me. It is so peaceful to me. And I'll read another one out of this one. Let's see. This was when, let me see. And like I told y'all, I dated, I learned about, I didn't know nothing about the online dating. I didn't grow up in that time, and I was married most of my life, 20 and 30. So I ain't know nothing about all this online dating, Tinder and all those different apps and stuff. I ain't know nothing about that. So when I heard about it, I'm like, oh, what's this? Okay, let me try it, And boy, did I learn some lessons, okay? I learned some lessons, but this is one poem that I wrote called The One. It says, how did this happen? Who would have thought that we would, I remember this person. And we actually never well, I'm going to read the poem first. How did this happen? Who would have thought that we would meet up again? Is this what we sought? It's been so long since we've seen one another. I hear a sweet song when I think of us together. Was it fate that came to pass? It must be so. Save the best for last and go with the flow. Can this be real? I've been waiting on you. Have you been waiting on me? Can this really be true? I'm looking forward to the day when we can become as one. Are we soulmates? Have I found the one? And that shows you right there, like literally, I was in the Lulu land a lot back then. Thought I was just gonna find my person, but that's someone that I knew. We had worked together like probably right before I got married. Right when I got married, never dated, never nothing like. But we knew each other, so we met up when we saw each other online. We were like, oh hey, and we started just talking on the phone and stuff. We both happened to be single at the time, but we never moved. We never actually went on a date, got together in person and none of that stuff, and live in the same area, but it just wasn't the right time, wasn't the right person. But we're still cool, Facebook friend. No, I don't think he's on Facebook, but with TikTok friends, every now and then he'll send something or comment on something. But that's it, we're just cool, just old co-workers. And that's all it just stayed like that, It stayed like that. We just stayed as old co-workers. But yeah, but this book, like I said, I took several years to write these poems because I just wanted to. I felt like I needed to write a thick book of poems because nobody's gonna buy a little thin. But that's how I felt. I didn't really know much about being an author and publishing and selling your books and marketing and all that stuff. So this one, like I said, I took a few years to write this one. But yeah, I went through some stuff, some experiences, and yeah, I went through a lot of stuff. Let me see one I'm gonna read. Let's see. No, here go one. Y'all might like this one. This one is called That Other Place. Trying not to go back to Heartbreak Hotel. Been there a few times when I tripped and fell in love or whatever it was. I don't know what happened because you and me, we're supposed to be rocking forever, but then never. So I'm like, whatever. I'm not going back to Heartbreak Hotel. I would rather go straight to hell. So when I find myself heading in that direction, I say to myself, you got to be your own protection. Remember, you're looking for perfection. Everybody's version is different. Every soul has an imprint. Got to look deeper than what you see. Look for the seed that planted the tree. Maybe then you'll find the key to that other place that has your peace. Yeah, that one, I was like, look, I'm tired of going through all this, Mm-mm. No, I'd rather go straight to hell than to keep going back to Heartbreak Hotel. I know y'all feel me. If you feel me, let me know in the comments. I know you feel me. And I was like, But so then, I wrote that one and I published that one right after I moved back home in 2022. And I had already, like I said, been writing the poems and collecting them. So and I went ahead and published that one. But then this one, this is the latest one right here. Still I Bloom, Poems of Healing, Becoming, and Quiet Strength. This is me coming out of, where's the other book? Where is the other book? What's up here? Oh, here it is. Yeah. This is me coming out of this book, which is not poetry. I'm going to hang on a little bit longer before I read that last one. Now, because this one, I always say it's not poetry, because this is a memoir where, like I said, a toxic relationship that I got into after those first two books. And thank God I didn't get married to him. Thank God I was past childbearing age. Well, I ain't say past childbearing age, but, surgery procedures are, no children's here. No more new babies here. Thank God. But that relationship, like I said, threw me for a loop. I went through some things, and learned some hard lessons. But since I do have a lot of new people on here now, I'll read some of this poem. But again, this is A Rose Wrapped in Thorns. And with this book, let's see where I'll start at. Okay. Let me see. All right. Okay. This is the Christmas present, the first chapter, Christmas present. But I'm not going to read the beginning. Well, yeah, I'm not going to read the beginning. I'm just going to read a part of it in the middle. Well, no, I'll start in the beginning because I mentioned something earlier and see if you remember that. It says the weather was sunny and cool. I got your message. I'll try to do that. You got to show me. You got to help me with all that. Yeah, you got to help me with all that. But I did see your message that you just sent me. But it says the weather was sunny and cool, which was typical for our Georgia Carolina area. I had been working all day and preparing to end my shift early. This day was busy as usual, and it was Christmas Eve. I had planned to end my shift early because my family was coming into town. I received a ride request and headed to the destination. I had trouble finding it. Then this guy came outside. I stopped the car and he came over. I asked, "Are you waiting on a lift?" And he says, "Yes." After confirming his name, he gets in the car with a small translucent plastic cup. I could tell he was intoxicated because he was very talkative. Excuse me. He begins to make small talk and tells me he's from Columbia, South Carolina, and is here with his family. Then he asked me why the women in this area look horrible with messed up teeth. I laugh and say it's not all of them. He goes on to describe a time where he went out with his aunt to a local club and the women were approaching him that weren't up to his standards. I thought to myself, he is not all that, but there's something incredibly attractive about a confident man. As we continue with the ride, he asked me how old I was, and I told him I'm 45 because I'm proud of my age. He tells me he's 38. Then he asked me, "Do you like younger men?" I answer, "I've dated younger and older. It depends on the person." He then asks, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I say, "I'm talking to someone right now." But in my head, I'm saying, "Girl, you know you ain't got nobody." Right? So, yes, looking at a message, sorry. As we got to his destination, he asked for my number. I tell myself, "Girl, take a chance on someone new." Plus, this man was fine. He was as tall as a mountain and chiseled like a statue. He reminded me of a Greek god. After doing some research, he's just like Mercury, one of the Greek gods. We've all read about Greek mythology in school at some point. He's all about trickery, deceit, communication, and financial gain. You've heard the phrase hindsight is 2020, right? Believe me, it is. Well, let's not get ahead of things. And I'm gonna stop right there. If y'all want to get this book, it's available also on Amazon. But yeah, that's the book where I couldn't hide behind the poetry anymore. I had to write it out for what it was, and that's what I did. I wrote it out for what it was, but I wrote it in hopes that it will bless someone else on their journey. And I still feel that same way. So if you've all ever gone through anything, be patient. You're gonna get through. Thank you, Marina. Thank you. Be patient. You'll get through. You'll make it through. Once you can get out of that relationship, because once you read the book, I think a few of my YouTube family have gotten the book, but you're gonna, I've had people say, "Wow, I mean, you went through all of that." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, yeah, I did. God brought me through it. So, and I'm just thankful for Him for bringing me through it. So, let's see. Okay. But yeah, I'm just thankful that God brought me through it. He brought me home. I made it through a rose wrapped in thorns, and I'm here to tell the story. I'm here to tell the story. So I'm just thankful for that, and just grateful to God for bringing me through. But I just want to say, you guys, thank y'all so much for rocking here with me. Make sure y'all share it out, for someone who may need to hear some of what I was talking about. I hope it blessed someone, in some way. It felt good, just like I said, just talking about that. So like I said, this is day one of my Becoming Her series. And tomorrow we're gonna talk about showing up even when you don't feel like it. Yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about tomorrow night at 9. Showing up even if you don't feel like it. And wherever the conversation takes us, that's where it takes us. So if you catch this later, or if you're on here now watching and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. You know it's right up there. Go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscriber button and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscriber button. You know what to do, right? Y'all know what to do. Hit that subscriber button. It'll be right there in the front, right there, below the title. Y'all know where it is, right? Go ahead and subscribe and share it out. Share it out, to someone else who may need it as well. So again, thank y'all so much for hanging out here with me tonight. And I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow night. Let all your homegirls, your friends, your family know we'll be on here. Right, God don't make no mistakes. And he don't, Marina. He don't make no mistakes. He knows exactly what went on, what happened. And I feel like I had to go through some things to get to where I am now. Before now, like I said, I was a whole different person. I was, more reserved. I wasn't, doing none of this right here, what I'm doing right here, talking to y'all like this. I was trying to start a YouTube channel back then. If you go back and look through some of my early, or even I had another channel, several other little channels, but I was nothing like what I am now, so God, sometimes you can go through some things to build your muscle, build your faith muscle, build your strength, and that's what happened. So I'm thankful and grateful for that. So yes, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on off of here, and thank y'all so much for rocking with me. I appreciate it. And again, for anyone who's watching this later, make sure you subscribe, hit that subscriber button, leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about some of the things that I mentioned in the video. I watch my comments and I do respond back. So, this is a community, we're a family, YouTube family. But yeah, so thank y'all so much. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. And I'll probably see you before then too, but I'll definitely be back here. Same time, same channel. All right. Y'all be blessed.